The reason we're here is we're marking the 60-day anniversary of the killing of Iryna Zarutska here in Charlotte on our light rail, but not only marking that terrible incident in our city, but also to highlight the number of murders that have occurred in our city, and more specifically the murder of young African-American men in our city. You know, we live at a time where everything is at our fingertips. We have access to so much information, and to see the number of folks that have shown up in our local elections where it matters the most is a little bit disheartening. But we have an opportunity this cycle, this election cycle, to make a difference here in Mecklenburg County, here in the city of Charlotte. One of the things we want to point out, a report just came out the other day that a young man had been arrested over 100 times and was released again. Where's the accountability in that? Where's the responsibility of the government, whose paramount and primary duty is the safety of its citizens? Where is our local government at in all of this? And it's too late to do this during an election cycle. To wait while you're up for re-election to decide to want to do something is a tad too late. And as a chairman of the 12th Congressional District, I also asked the question, how come Alma Adams is continuously silent about the violence that is plaguing her district? She gaslights the voters of this district talking about Donald Trump, but refuses to acknowledge that this place is unsafe and that her district is becoming a haven for criminals. With that, we're going to focus locally here, and I'd like to introduce City Councilman Edwin Peacock to give you a few words.
Good afternoon. I'm Edwin Peacock, City Councilman, District 6. I want to thank everybody for coming today. This does mark the anniversary, the 60th day in which Iryna Zarutska was murdered. It's also a time of reflection and to look at the positives that have occurred to this very, very negative situation. And I think it can best be told in the story of what are the priorities of the city of Charlotte. Now, each year the city of Charlotte sets its focus areas, and its current focus areas under this last year for our city manager start with, first and foremost, a well-managed government. That's the first priority. The second priority is great neighborhoods. The third priority is safe communities. And then it's transportation and planning, and then economic and business development. But I think if there's anything that we've learned in this tragedy, that we know that public safety is and always will be our number one priority. So I hope that Democrats and Republicans, particularly my colleagues on the City Council, can come together after this election to begin to address the very serious situations that we have seen develop since this murder. Abdul has pointed out, obviously, consecutive weekends of senseless murders here in uptown Charlotte and across this region, and this must stop. Everyone, and I mean state, local, and county, we all are responsible in this situation. And so it's incumbent upon elected officials in both our city council and our county commission and our local state delegation to begin to work together to address the gaps that we know exist. The gaps exist between law enforcement, prosecutors, and clearly sentencing. How do we fill those gaps? And the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, public safety does not need to be partisan. We need to be focusing on fixing problems and finding solutions. Myself and my other candidates on this Republican ticket, if elected, hope to work with the majority of this council to do just that. Fix problems and find solutions. Thank you very much.
Next up, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to bring up to give us a few words here is the chairman of the Mecklenburg County Republican Party, Kyle Kirby.
Thank you for being with us today. My name is Kyle Kirby. I'm the chairman of the Mecklenburg County Republican Party. Over this past weekend, we had 4 more needless deaths in Charlotte, North Carolina. 60 days ago, Charlotte lost Iryna Zarutska, an innocent woman whose life was stolen by senseless violence. And this past weekend, as I mentioned, we had 4 more individuals needlessly taken from us. Here today, we will hear from some of the families of Navia Carter and V. Hemingway, also 2 Charlotteans which were needlessly taken away from us. Like these youths, how many more have to die before this city council wakes up, before the mayor realizes what she is doing is not working? We have to hold the county and city leaders responsible for these deaths. Charlotte is clearly in a crisis. Crime is out of control, and families are afraid to walk the streets at night. Businesses are closing early, and police officers are demoralized and do not have the tools which they need in order to effectively police this city. Republicans are standing here today because we refuse to accept this reality. We believe that every person in every neighborhood deserves to live in a safe and peaceful city. We believe in strong law enforcement, real accountability, and the rule of law. We believe in backing our police and not blaming them when the true blame is at the city leadership levels. The choice before Charlotte could not be any clearer. Do we continue down the path, this dangerous path that we have chose, or do we elect new leadership, Republican leadership, which can bring and restore safety, sanity, and common sense to our city? Early voting is happening now. Don't wait and do not set this one out. I beg you, for the youth of our city. Between now and Election Day, November 4th, you have the power to say enough is enough. Vote for leaders like Terry Donovan, Edwin Peacock, Krista Bakari, and James Bowers, who will work to protect the families and defend our community and make Charlotte safe again. It's time to take back this city. And on a personal note, I'll say, as a father of a 3-year-old child, it hurts me deeply every time I turn on the news since Iryna Zarutska's death. And it seems like every single day we see additional needless deaths in this city. Charlotte, I beg you, I implore you, for your own good, for the future of our community, get out now and vote. Only you, the voters of the city of Charlotte, can save ourselves from this epidemic of crime and disparity. I would like to introduce now my good friend, Anita Albright, who is going to say a few words in regards to this ongoing crisis in the city of Charlotte. Anita?
Thank you so much. Hey, how's everyone doing? I am Annette Albright, and I come to you today to speak to you about a very serious problem that is plaguing our community, and that is the homicides, the juvenile homicides of black males in this city, and now also merging over to taking the lives of black females. On October the 12th, we had Joel Kaliska, and I'm hoping I'm pronouncing his name correctly, 19 years old. October the 13th, Dantravion Hobbs, 23 years old. October the 1st, Alexander Martinez, 16 years old. September the 21st, Jeremiah Gonzalez, 16 years old. September the 17th, Jace Edwards, 4 years old. August the 25th, Tyshawn Stokes, 16 years old. And the thing that is most disturbing about the homicide of Tyshawn Stokes is that 6 teens were arrested. The ages of those teens were 14 to 16 years old. So we have a problem with youth violence in this city. It's a problem that's often hushed away and people don't want to talk about, but it's having a big impact on our city and the lives of the juveniles in this city. What is the cause of gun violence? We often hear so many times, we need the root cause, we need the root cause. We know the root cause. The root cause of gun violence is solving conflicts with guns, lifestyle choices, and firearms improperly stored getting into the hands of our youth and even our children. Charlotte-Mecklenburg, the population, people often want to reflect back and say we're living in poverty. Everyone's living in poverty in Charlotte. That's not necessarily true, because the numbers and the work that we have done in this city, and we have people doing amazing work, they don't match. The group that's living in the highest poverty percentage-wise is Hispanics at 25%, followed by the black race at 14%, and the whites at 17%. So if poverty was the factor that's pushing gun violence death, then we should see the highest amount of deaths among Hispanics. But 90% of gun violence deaths in Charlotte are black offenders with black victims. So we have to dispel that myth. We have to stop looking at what happened 20 and 30 years ago and focus on what we need to do today. Some of the solutions are simple. Children need parents. Parents is the first line of defense for these children. Parents have to start back going to the basics. You have to parent your child. You need to know where they are, where they're supposed to be, where they're going, who they're with, and what they're doing. Get to know your child's friends, get to know their parents, exchange numbers, utilize technology to track and keep up with your children. A lot of the things that are pushing these incidents and conflicts that's taking the lives of children, permanent solutions to temporary problems, it's starting on the internet. Internet activity has to be monitored by parents. If I know that your child is in an apartment waving an AK-47 because I saw it on the internet, you should also know. The boys who murdered Tyshawn Stokes had assault rifles. How are you the parents of 14 and 16-year-olds and not know that they are carrying assault rifles? You got to check their backpacks. You got to check their rooms. We also need our elected officials to acknowledge that there is a problem and where specifically that problem is. We can't cure cancer if we're treating the symptoms of a cold. So we have to admit where the problem is, admit that it is a pandemic, and admit that it is affecting the quality of lifestyle for everyone in this city, specifically our youth. When our youth can't go to a football game without running for their lives and hearing gun violence. Students are afraid to go to school because they know that their classmate lured another classmate into a field and killed him. They are aware. So it's not a secret. It's causing the mental health disorders we are seeing. It's causing depression, anxiety. And like one of the judges said in a courtroom, the parents are failing. They're looking the other way. So how are the kids solving these issues? They're picking up their own guns. A judge asked a young 16-year-old, why do you have a gun? Why do you feel like you need a gun? And his response was everyone has a gun, so I have to defend myself. That should be a huge wake-up call to the adults in this city and our elected leaders. And also, as Edwin Peacock said, we have several entities that are responsible for protecting this city, and they are not on the same page. That's Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department. They're doing a fantastic job. They're doing the best that they can. The district attorney's office is over here on the left. The judges are over here on the right. And then you have those in the middle who are more focused on how these crimes are going to affect the offender versus the victims, who are often left broken. They're in a financial state because now they had to bury a child. They have kids who are suffering PTSD and they don't have access to therapy because they buried a sibling or a father or a husband or a brother. So we have to get everyone on the same page in order to protect the mass. We can no longer look at a small group of people and say, we got to do what's best for them. We have to do what's best for the city of Charlotte. I would like to bring up at this time Claudia Hemingway. Claudia Hemingway's son Donquavius Hemingway was shot and killed in 2019 behind a minor conflict that someone picked up a gun and created a permanent solution. And not only did it affected two families are now torn. You have the family of the victim, but you also have the family of the perpetrator. Everybody lost in this situation. And I honestly feel that if some of these kids have options, if they're able to talk to their parents, if they're able to know, hey, this is temporary, it will pass, then these kids will make different choices. So at this point, I would like to bring up Claudia Hemingway.
Good morning. I would like to know, when are law-abiding citizens' lives be protected? When will our Declaration of Independence uphold its declarations that we have the right to life and enjoy the fruits of our labor? My labor was my 22-year-old son I no longer get to enjoy, as he was ambushed and gunned down at a residential pool by people he didn't know, nor did they know Donquavius. Who goes to a pool going to do a good deed and expect your life to be taken by murder? Lastly, why does a murderer mom get to see, speak, and write her murdering son when I no longer get any of that from my innocent, law-abiding, public servant son, Donquavius? When will lawmakers think about victims and realize this is a pain forever? My son was killed 2019. It feels like yesterday. And as Annette spoke, Donquavius had 4 more siblings. I have to watch my children grieve. You know, when they're sick, I used to take them to the doctor. They get wounded, I could put a Band-Aid over their wound. That now that they're grieving their younger brother, there's nothing I can do. There's nothing that I can do. And I hate that. When will humanity matter? When will humanity matter? When will human lives matter? When will they stop thinking about the killer and his family? Like I said, she gets to see her child. She gets to see her child. What's the purpose of have laws if everybody can just break them and get out?
That's right.
I worked hard to teach my children respect and to be good citizens. But there was another mother who didn't do the same. And that's not fair. That is not fair. There are children sitting in their cars being killed. There are children sleeping in their homes being killed. Public safety is what I'm talking to. And again, it's not an issue of poverty. Those boys that ambushed my son, they lived in 3-story homes, drove nice cars. I sat in court one time with the mother whose only son was murdered. The mother of the killer taught her sons how to wash the DNA from off their hands. The mother. The mother even had the nerve to ask the judge, could she have her gun back because it was registered. And that was the same gun that her 2 sons used to kill this innocent boy, to rob him and kill him. The mother. So these kids are not going back to a productive environment. And it's important for judges to know that. There's a 15-year-old who at the time he was a juvenile, he killed a young boy innocently. He did 3 years. He got out. He shot 4 more people again this past January and was arrested and back out again. But, you know, because he's a juvenile, nobody gets to know that they're living against a cold-blooded murderer. These mothers have to take accountability for their children. If they can get a driver's license, they can understand the laws of the land. And I say that because you have court advocates saying that juveniles' minds can't comprehend what they're doing. 15 and 16-year-olds, but yet they have permit, they have driver's license. So how can they understand a yield, a stop sign, or not to go? They can understand it's time to protect law-abiding citizens. When will we see results? When we elect officials who really care about humanity and not care about just holding a seat and be people pleasers.
That's right.
So it's time to vote for humanity, people that's gonna stand up for humanity. Right now, it's not happening. So that's when we're gonna see our change. When we vote elected officials who really cares about humanity instead of being yes men. Thank you.
There you go.
Okay, guys, thanks for having me back. Could you guys tell I was stalling? Nobody? Oh, okay, good. So, again, what I want to say is that we are a city where the priority should be public safety. It has to be public safety. Nothing else matters if citizens do not feel safe. The 4 agencies that are responsible for keeping us safe in Charlotte are the District Attorney's Office. By aggressively prosecuting cases, that's not happening at all. The focus is on how do we get them through the court system as quickly as possible. When you have someone that shoots into occupied property, that's attempted murder. But the DA's office would drop it down to shooting into an occupied property and put that person on probation. Where does that leave the victims? If you are shooting into occupied property, I'm not sure that probation is the right intervention for you. Probation was never intended for violent offenders. So if the District Attorney's Office start to reconsider how they are treating violent offenders and the safety of our victims, I think that would make a big difference. Also, the Sheriff's Department is responsible for only, because a lot of people think they're responsible for bail and bond, they're not. They're responsible for keeping arrested people safe until they have their day in court. That's it. Adult probation parole. That's the agency that's supervising these offenders when they're out in the community. And again, the court system. All of those 4 agencies, as far as I know, have never sat down to have a meeting to collaborate. And of course, CMPD, even though they're all touching the exact same people. So those are some common sense solutions that could come from our elected officials. Our mayor could arrange that. We're going to sit down and we're going to have a meeting and we're going to find out what's going on with all these different agencies and why they're falling through the gaps. Most crimes in Charlotte, most homicides, District 1 has the most homicides in Charlotte, followed by District 2. Those representatives need to be out in the community, finding out what's going on. You cannot be an elected official every second and fourth Tuesday of the month behind the diocese. We also have with us today Jamie Carter. Her daughter was Nevaeh Carter. Nevaeh Carter was a beautiful 17-year-old who lived in Monroe, who came to Charlotte, and she did not leave Charlotte. On May the 15th, Nevaeh's life was cut short due to senseless gun violence. She was sitting in a car and someone pulled up and shot into that car, taking this wonderful, beautiful life, leaving a family and siblings devastated. This is not the reputation that we want in Charlotte. Drive-by shootings have increased tremendously. At one time, the drive-by shootings in Charlotte were gone. Now they're back up. We had a 3-year-old who was shot just this past Sunday. Folks, we have a gun violence problem in Charlotte, and we can't keep hiding behind it. This is something programs are not can't fix. This is something additional funding will not fix. We have to come together, the adults in the community, and address this issue. So at this time, I would like to bring up Nevaeh's mom, Jamie.
Hi, my name's Jamie Curitz, and I'm Nevaeh Carter's mom. My daughter was a 17-year-old who was shot and killed on May 31st in a drive-by shooting. Um, Still, it's going on 5 months. I have no justice on her case. I call CMPD, I leave voicemails. They tell me that they're investigating, details are confidential. I was just on the news a few weeks ago in regards to Crime Stoppers offering a $5,000 reward. But $5,000 is not enough to bring my daughter back. It's not any amount of money that is sufficient to bring my daughter, who was an innocent bystander, back. Not only that, the lives that they shattered, and just knowing that I'm a citizen of Charlotte and a lifelong resident, born and raised here in Charlotte, and the justice system has failed, knowing that they have a real-time crime center and the intersection that my daughter was killed at, North Graham Street and Craighead Road, has cameras. The right and left direction, no matter which way you're going, is a business district with plenty of surveillance. So going on 5 months now with no justice is just devastating to me. And also that someone so young's life has been taken away, and every time you turn on your TV to watch the weather, you got a breaking news alert that somebody else has been killed here in Charlotte. 8 people lost their life over the weekend. So it don't just start with my family. And you know what? When we turn on and we watch the news, sometimes we always look and say, you know, that'll never be me. But guess what? I was that mom that got that call, waking me up out of my sleep that my daughter was murdered. And still to this day, somebody is walking these streets, living their life every single day that killed my daughter. And I have to sleep at night knowing that there's someone out here who killed my daughter, and all of these parents who aren't receiving justice. But yet I go on the news and I see arrests have been made, and it's just everybody's being quiet, and someone needs to talk. These voices need to be heard. We need to come together as a community. And all of this crime, 9 times out of 10, is black on black crime, like killing our own people. Like, we have to come together as a community, and we have to stand for something or fall for nothing. But as long as I have breath in my body, I will fight to the day that I leave here for justice for Nevaeh.
Ladies and gentlemen, we only have 2 speakers left. I'm going to call up to the podium now candidate for Charlotte City Council District 3, James Bowers. James.
Good morning, everyone. I've got a prepared speech, but I tell you, after hearing what I've heard, it seems not to be so important. You know, I'm gonna kind of close the speech up and just speak from the heart. You know, Charlotte has been my home for almost 40 years now. And some of the things that have happened are just too much to say I'm just not going to do anything about it. I'm just going to close my eyes. I stepped up into this race to run for city council to prove 2 things. One is that my voice is being heard and that I can represent the people of District 3 with integrity, honesty, transparency, and with care. And when I hear of the tragic murders, Iryna Zarutska in District 3 and Jace Edwards and these other children, it just breaks my heart. But it just doesn't stop there. Things have to start at the top. It has to start at leadership. Leadership has to have more than just the title and has to have action. That's the difference now. You've got a lot of people who have just had the title but no action. My plan is to be a person of action, to hear the people's cry, to hear their hurts, their needs, and to react to them, not to pontificate speeches and empty promises so that they can get elected. No, I've never been elected, but you can change that now. This is not about me. It's about you. It's about your family, your neighborhood, your city. What are you going to do as voters? Even the people here that are taping this broadcast, they are part of the fabric of this city, this county, this nation. It's important that they have clarity, clear-mindedness, and they're willing to fight also for what is right, what's true, and what's just. I don't do this because I try to be the most eloquent or represent a particular statistic. I do it because I'm an American. I have a right. I even have a right to disagree with those in my own party if I choose to. Do you? They call that free will. I hope you have it also. And will look towards new leadership, new focus, and to give us an opportunity to say, listen, Charlotte needs a change. I'm James Bowers. I'm running for City Council in District 3. God bless District 3, God bless Charlotte, and God bless the United States of America.
Ladies and gentlemen, certainly last but certainly not least, Terry Donovan, Republican candidate for mayor. Terry.
Thanks, Adul. Good morning, everybody. My name's Terry Donovan, and I am the Republican candidate for mayor. This race is no longer about Democrats versus Republicans. This race is about wrong versus right. This race is about good versus evil. It's about delusion versus common sense. You know, many of my best friends are Democrats, and guess what? They're voting for me. They're voting for change. The media has divided us so much that there are some people that are way far right and some that are way far left, but I personally believe that, like me, most of us live somewhere in between. And until we can all get on board and acknowledge that and stop with the divisive rhetoric, we're never going to take steps forward in Charlotte. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. It's time to reclaim our city. Our murder rate is up 200% compared to last year. We had 4 murders over the weekend. 4. This could be your kid. This could be your neighbor. This could be your sister. Enough is enough. It's time for everybody to stand up, get out, and vote for common sense. We cannot have lunatics roaming on our streets anymore, attacking people. We cannot have another Logan Federico story where she was executed by somebody who had been arrested 39 times. We can't have it. What are we doing? We all want the same things. We all want safe neighborhoods. We want to be able to walk down our streets and feel safe. And that doesn't matter what color your skin is, what your party affiliation is, or which neighborhood you live in.
That's right.
We all want the same things. So please, I urge every Charlottean, it is time to reclaim our city. Vote for change. The current city council, they just want to put their head in the ground. They want to say, oh, there's nothing to see here. Crime stats are down. You know what that does? It shows me and the rest of Charlotte just how tone deaf you really are.
Amen.
You're not out speaking to people. You're not out walking the streets. You're not out talking to business owners. Do that. And then let me hear what you have to say. Listen to the people. You're so tone deaf that it's embarrassing for our entire city. And people are sick of it. Charlotteans, it's time to step up, get out, and elect all new representatives. We've got to get Edward Peacock on. We've got to get James Bowers on. We've got to have a new mayor, myself. I will promise you one thing on day one. we are going to acknowledge that public safety is going to be our #1 priority, our #1 focus. Enough of this madness, enough of this lunacy, enough of this division. I'm going to step across party lines and work with anybody who has creative, common sense ideas. We must fund CMPD. It's time for change, Charlotte. So get out and vote November 4th. November 4th. Again, I'm Terry Donovan, and I'm running for mayor, and I would really appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Here. Ladies and gentlemen, before we open up for questions, we just wanted to come out today and, like I said, not only recognize the 60 days since the senseless murder of Iryna Zarutska, but also to dismantle this notion that Republicans don't care about what happens to members of the black community. As a black man and as a leader in the Republican Party, nothing could be further from the truth. As a black man with a black son and a black daughter who live and graduated from schools here in CMS, nothing could be further from the truth. So to the members of the black community of Charlotte, now is the time to vote outside of that Democrat box. Now is the time for you to vote for your values, to vote for your safety, and to vote to make a difference for your community. And with that, Kyle, if you're